Hi, this is Eric Martin with Board Game Geek. I'm here today looking at Topiary, designed by Danny Devine, first released by Italian publisher Fever Games in mid-2017, now re-released by US publisher Renegade Game Studios in January 2018. This is a game for 2 to 4 players that plays in about 15 to 30 minutes. It's a tile-based game. It's not really tile laying. It sort of is, sort of isn't. You'll see when we look at how this works. First thing you might notice when you open Topiary, after you punch out all the pieces that is that aside from the rules and the scoreboard, everything else fits in a very tiny space. So if you think you're going to keep the game, get prepared to cut it down to a much smaller size. You'll make a travel version out of the original box. Here's the game layout for Topiary, regardless of whether you have 2, 3, or 4 players. The only difference with player count is with 2 and 3 players, you remove one set of 5 tiles. You have 8 different types of topiary with values from 1 to 5 in each type. You have 8 figures of each color, and you use only 5 in a 4-player game and 6 with 3 and all 8 with a 2-player game, and that's the number of turns in the game. 8, 5, or 6 turns for each player, and that's it. And what you're trying to do is take your people, who I guess represent different versions of you in a multiverse, if you want to look at it this way. Maybe you've got 8 children and you want them all to see nice things. I'm not exactly sure how this works here. Maybe this represents an hour. This is what I see at noon. There are all sorts of possibilities for what could be happening in this. I don't know. What you do is you place a figure on a row or a column or a diagonal, and you were looking down and seeing all this. And initially, this is all grass. And there's just one sculpture that you start with at random in the center. I see this elephant, which is worth 4 points as I'm looking at it, because it's a pretty nice sized elephant. But I want to see more than that. So I look down the row. I can take any of the face down tiles into my hand of 3 tiles that I start with at random. And I look at those tiles. Maybe I already have a plan for what I want to do. And I then put down a tile to fill that space. So I still have 3 tiles left for later turns. Now I'm looking at 9 points of sculptures. Yes, nice big pyramid thing behind the elephant. And I can see this because it is taller, that is worth more points, than the elephant. So next player goes, they place this here maybe because it's already looking at 5. Maybe it puts this in its hand. And it comes out, oh, I'll drop a 4 on my own. I'll see 9 points too. Look at that, Mr. Greenie. So what was funny about Topiary is that the game is made of tiles, and yet it did not seem like a tile-laying game, because most tile-laying games, you're putting them all together to make a large world, a la Carcassonne and many, many, many other games that followed after Carcassonne. What was funny, though, is it didn't really click for us until halfway through our first 2-player game that, like Carcassonne, you can be a real jerk by messing up the landscape that other people want to see. After all, you are near gods in this world of Topiary, causing sculpture to rise out of the ground before you so that you have marvelous things to look at. You're not a great god because it doesn't work very well, and often there's things that you don't necessarily want to see, because ideally you want to see from small to large in each row that you look at, because you get the most points. If you have large to tall, then you only see the big thing first, and it blocks everything else behind it and doesn't score you anything. So you want to build things the right way. You're just plopping that sculpture out there on the grass. I don't know, here's some X-Men guy moving lawn furniture around, lawns themselves. I don't know. So what I can do in here is I can actually look down this row with this figure, this row of only 2 tiles, add this to my hand, and if I get lucky, or maybe I just see something that was already in my hand that I can use, I can drop down this 5. And this yellow one went from seeing 9 points to now seeing only 5, while I see 5 myself. So yay, good for me, bad for you, victory for me, hopefully. And you're going to keep doing that. You're trying to build on what came before. I can't look down here, really, because this 4 is blocking this other 4. It's kind of useless. But maybe I want to look down this way and look here. And hopefully I can find something nice like this. Sure. Now I got a 3, 4, 5 down here. Maybe someone will mess me up by putting something else face up in this space, but if not, this guy sees 12 points. All right, maybe I'll put one here, and of course you sort of double up the points that this space is going to be worth. So I can look at something, put this down. All right. And we'll keep going, and there'll be all sorts of people on the board and things crisscrossing all the way around, and then the game will end, and we'll see what we actually score for. Now, what you score for is you look at each of your guys. You have to imagine there's lots more guys around and many more face-up tiles. And you look down a row and you add up the numbers that you can see. 3, 4, 5, that's worth 12 points. Yay! This guy's done. Lay him down. He doesn't see anything else. If you have sculptures that are the same type that this one's looking at, he gets very excited for some reason. I don't know. He likes the uniformity of these sculptures. So you score the value of the sculptures, which is 4, and you score 1 bonus point for each. So hey, that's actually 6 points, even though it's not very impressive. And if you saw other pairs, or there was another one of these D20 bushes over here that was higher value, then I would score another bonus point for seeing all of those. In addition to scoring all the rows and scoring bonus points for seeing these duplicate things, you also look at the remaining tiles in your hand, and if you have seen something in the garden that is larger than what you have in your hand, you score points for these as well. So this would be worth 1 point because I saw this 5. This is worth 2 points because I saw 4. This swan here is worth 4 points because I saw 5. All right, so I add up these points and the bonus points and the row points and see who wins. Some of this does not necessarily make sense, because why do I score for things left in my hand? The rulebook could have gone a little bit farther to paint this world for me. I would have liked to pretended that I was a mutant building up sculptures rather than just standing there looking at grass, and then I don't know, I looked away and workers came in and put something in place, when I was sipping a drink or went to the bathroom. So I don't know. There's a little something here. Why do I score for these left in my hand? It could have said something like, this is my guidebook. This is what I hope to see when I went to the garden. And not only did I want to see an elephant, I saw an awesome elephant that was worth it's so much bigger and better than I thought it would be looking in my book. I thought it's this little tiny thing, but no, it was monstrous. So man, yeah, I get the 4 points because this was a great elephant. But if I have a 5 in my hand and then I go look at it in real life and it's lower value, it's smaller, I'm like, oh, I thought it looked like this. It's not like it was on Facebook. No, this person didn't look way better online than in real life. So they could have gone a little farther to sort of sell the story, such as it is, of Topiary, looking at all these other things. A couple of people talked about having Edward Scissorhands theming, and of course that'd be cool licensing for those people old enough to care about Edward Scissorhands being on a game. I don't know how many there were and what that would actually cost, but of course maybe that'll come in later as a Target exclusive. That'll be something special for people out there who might not otherwise pick up this game. I mean, it's got a giant dinosaur on the box, so it's kind of already made for it. You just put Johnny Depp in there cutting stuff. Anyway, I played Topiary now 6 times on a review copy from Renegade Game Studios, twice each with 2, 3, and 4 players. And as I mentioned before, initially it was kind of friendly in that first game, and then it was just like more cutthroat all the time, trying to block people off. And it's interesting because there's a lot going on in this little 15, 20-minute game. Relatively speaking. Again, you'll have only 5 to 8 turns. You've got some choices to consider, things to do. You're trying to build up. You're trying to crisscross and build things up that maybe you can use later. But of course, whatever you put down, other people can use as well. So you have to try to turn it so that they can't use it in some way. But you have no idea what they have in hand. You don't know. Maybe you're laying something down and they're going to score bonus points for what they have in hand. And there's huge amounts of luck in what you're going to draw. I had one 2-player game where the other player drew almost entirely tiles worth 1 and 2. I think there were 2, 3 tiles, and otherwise it was like a hand of 1 and 2. They had nothing big. They could only try to score big points off of what I had, which is extremely frustrating to this 9-year-old player who is not interested now in playing again. Yeah, I had one shot with him, and he's like, no, I'm done. So there's a bit of swinginess there, and what you're doing, if you have people who are a bit more forgiving, maybe they'll give it another try after you trounce them in the first game by cutting them off and preventing them from seeing that giant whale sculpture that they thought they were going to look at. So there you go. An overview of Topiary, and now cut it up like the bushes themselves.